Then I'm sad all the time.
He's the man who gave us Neo, John Wick, and Ted. He lost his father before he could understand what a father was. He lost his best friend to addiction. He lost his daughter before she ever took her first breath. He lost the woman he loved in a single, shattering moment. And through it all, he never asked for sympathy. He never sought attention. He simply kept going. Keanu Reeves was born into a world already unraveling. On September 2, 1964, in Beirut, Lebanon, he entered life amid instability. His father, Samuel Reeves, was a geologist with a troubled past, addiction, abandonment, and a criminal record. By the time Keanu was 3 years old, his father had walked out on the family, leaving behind a silence that would echo through Keanu's life for decades. That early loss wasn't just a missing parent. It was the beginning of a pattern. People would leave. People would disappear. And Keanu would learn to carry grief quietly. His mother, Patricia Taylor, was a costume designer from England. She did her best to hold the family together, but her own life was turbulent. She remarried multiple times, and each new stepfather brought a new city, a new school, a new disruption. Keanu moved from Beirut to Sydney, then to New York, and finally to Toronto. He never stayed in one place long enough to feel rooted. He struggled with dyslexia, making school a painful experience. Teachers misunderstood him. Classmates mocked him. He was labeled difficult, distracted, slow. But he wasn't slow. He was searching for something stable, something kind. He found it in performance. Acting became his refuge. On stage, he could be someone else. He could escape the chaos of his home life, the confusion in his mind, the ache in his heart. He joined a local theater group and began performing in school plays. His talent was undeniable. He had a presence, a quiet intensity that drew people in. He wasn't loud or flashy, but he was magnetic. Directors noticed, audiences noticed, and soon Hollywood noticed. His early career was a mix of odd jobs and small roles. He worked as a pasta chef, a manager at a gourmet grocery store, and a stagehand. He took whatever roles he could find: commercials, TV spots, low-budget films. But in 1986, everything changed. He landed a role in River's Edge, a haunting drama about teenage alienation and death. Critics praised his performance. He was raw, vulnerable, unforgettable. It was the beginning of something big. Then came Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It was goofy, lighthearted, and wildly successful. Keanu became a household name, but fame didn't sit easily with him. He was shy, introspective, and allergic to the spotlight. He didn't want to be a celebrity. He wanted to be an artist. He turned down blockbuster roles, choosing instead to work with independent directors and experimental filmmakers. He starred in My Own Private Idaho, a groundbreaking film about queer identity and homelessness. His performance was heartbreaking. He wasn't playing a role. He was channeling something deep and personal. But even as his career soared, his personal life remained steeped in tragedy. In 1991, his younger sister, Kim, was diagnosed with leukemia. Keanu was devastated. He put his career on hold to care for her. He became her full-time support system, cooking her meals, cleaning her home, driving her to chemotherapy appointments. He never spoke about it publicly. He didn't want sympathy. He wanted privacy. He wanted to protect her. Kim's illness lasted nearly a decade. Through it all, Keanu remained by her side. He donated millions to cancer research, quietly funding hospitals and foundations without ever attaching his name. Fame didn't change him. It only gave him more ways to help. Then came Jennifer Syme. They met in the late 1990s. She was a production assistant, smart and beautiful, with a passion for music and film. Keanu fell deeply in love. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to hope. In 1999, they were expecting their first child, a daughter they named Ava. Keanu was ecstatic. He spoke about fatherhood with quiet reverence. He wanted to be the kind of father he never had. He wanted to break the cycle. But tragedy struck. Ava was stillborn at 8 months. The grief was unbearable. Keanu and Jennifer tried to stay together, but the pain drove them apart. They separated, though the love never truly faded. They remained close, checking in on each other, sharing memories of the daughter they never got to raise. 2 years later, Jennifer died in a car accident. She was just 28. The loss shattered Keanu. He was filming The Matrix at the time, and while the world saw a stoic action hero, behind the scenes he was drowning in sorrow. He later said, "Grief changes shape, but it never ends." That quote became a window into his soul. Quiet, broken, enduring. Keanu never married. He never had children. He kept his relationships private, his emotions guarded. Paparazzi often captured him alone, on park benches and cafes, walking through city streets with a haunted look in his eyes. The internet turned him into a meme. Sad Keanu. But the sadness wasn't a joke. It was real. It was earned. Despite everything, he kept going. He threw himself into work, choosing roles that mirrored his pain. John Wick wasn't just a revenge thriller, it was a meditation on grief. The character loses his wife, his dog, his peace. Keanu poured his own heartbreak into every scene. That's why it resonated. It wasn't just acting, it was confession. He also found healing in unexpected places. In 2009, he met artist Alexandra Grant. They collaborated on a book called Ode to Happiness, a quiet, philosophical reflection on finding light in darkness. Their friendship grew slowly, organically. In 2019, they went public as a couple. It was the first time in decades that Keanu had shared his heart with the world. Friends say Alexandra brought him peace. She grounded him. She made him laugh again. They traveled together, created art together, and supported each other's work. Rumors swirled about a secret wedding in Europe, but Keanu's team denied it. Whether married or not, their bond was undeniable. She became his anchor. Through all of this, Keanu remained humble. He gave away millions to crew members on his films. He quietly funded children's hospitals. He refused to live in mansions or flaunt his wealth. He rode the subway. He waited in line. He listened. His tragedies didn't harden him, they softened him. He became a symbol of quiet resilience, a man who had lost everything, yet still chose kindness, still chose hope. And that's the real story of Keanu Reeves. Not the fame, not the action, but the silence, the grief, the grace. Keanu's grief didn't make him bitter, it made him gentle. In interviews, he rarely speaks about his pain directly. He doesn't dramatize it. He doesn't seek pity. But when asked about loss, his words carry a weight that's hard to describe. "I miss being a part of their lives," he once said about Jennifer and Ava, "and them being a part of mine." It's not just what he says, it's how he says it. Slowly, carefully, as if each word is a fragile object he's afraid to drop. He's known for long pauses in interviews, for staring off into the distance before answering. Some call it awkward, others call it profound. But those silences are sacred. They're the spaces where grief lives, where memory breathes, where love never died. Despite his fame, Keanu lives like a man who's seen too much. He doesn't own a mansion in Beverly Hills. He doesn't throw lavish parties. He's been seen riding the subway, giving up his seat for strangers, chatting with homeless people, buying meals for crew members. He once gave away millions from his Matrix earnings to the special effects and costume teams. "Money is the last thing I think about," he said. "I could live on what I've already made for the next few centuries." That humility isn't performative. It's real. People who've worked with him describe him as kind, respectful, and deeply present. He remembers names. He shows up early. He stays late. He listens. He doesn't act like a star. He acts like a person. And yet, he's still haunted. In 2010, a photo of Keanu sitting alone on a park bench went viral. He was eating a sandwich, looking down, lost in thought. The internet dubbed it "Sad Keanu." Memes exploded. People laughed. But others saw something deeper. A man who wasn't performing, a man who wasn't posing, a man who was simply being. Keanu never commented on the meme, but when asked about sadness, he said, "Sometimes we're happy. Sometimes we're sad. That's life." That simple statement carried more truth than most celebrity interviews combined. He's not interested in pretending. He's interested in truth. That truth shows up in his roles. In John Wick, he plays a man who loses everything and fights to reclaim a piece of peace. In The Matrix, he's a man searching for reality in a world of illusion. In Constantine, he's a tortured soul trying to outrun damnation. These aren't just characters. They're reflections, mirrors, echoes of a man who's lived through fire and still walks forward. But Keanu's legacy isn't just cinematic. It's spiritual. He's fascinated by philosophy, Buddhism, and metaphysics. He's read the Tao Te Ching, studied quantum physics, and explored the nature of consciousness. He once said, "The simple act of paying attention can take you a long way." That's how he lives. Attentively, deliberately, with reverence for the moment. He's also a writer. His book, Ode to Happiness, created with Alexandra Grant, is a minimalist meditation on joy. It's not flashy, it's not commercial, it's quiet. Like him, it's a reminder that happiness isn't loud, it's gentle. It's found in stillness, in kindness, in connection. That connection is what Keanu values most. He's fiercely loyal to his friends. He remained close to River Phoenix until River's tragic death in 1993. The two starred in My Own Private Idaho, and their bond was deep. After River died of a drug overdose outside the Viper Room, Keanu was devastated. He never spoke publicly about it, but those who knew him said he mourned quietly, deeply, for years. Loss follows him, but so does love. In recent years, Keanu has become a symbol of hope. Not because he's perfect, but because he's real. He's proof that you can survive unimaginable pain and still choose kindness, still choose generosity, still choose life. He's also become a cultural icon, not just for his roles, but for his soul. Fans call him the internet's boyfriend. They celebrate his humility, his wisdom, his refusal to play the Hollywood game. He's not on social media. He doesn't chase trends. He doesn't sell his private life for clicks. He just lives. And in that living, he teaches us something profound. That grief doesn't have to destroy you. That silence can be sacred. That kindness is revolutionary. Keanu Reeves is more than a movie star. He's a survivor, a seeker, a quiet warrior in a loud world. And his story isn't over. He continues to act, to write, to love. He continues to walk through the world with grace. And every time we see him, on screen, on a bench, on a subway, we're reminded that tragedy doesn't define us. Keanu Reeves doesn't chase attention. He never has. In an industry built on self-promotion, he remains an anomaly, An A-list actor who avoids red carpets, rarely gives interviews, and almost never talks about his private life. But that silence isn't emptiness. It's protection. It's reverence. It's a man who's learned that the most sacred parts of life are the ones you guard. He's been called mysterious, elusive, even unknowable. But those who've worked with him describe something else entirely. Warmth, generosity, presence. He remembers birthdays. He writes thank you notes. He buys motorcycles for stunt teams. He doesn't do it for PR. He does it because he knows what it's like to feel unseen. That empathy is his superpower. On set, he's known for treating everyone equally, from directors to assistants to janitors. He doesn't demand special treatment. He doesn't isolate himself in trailers. He eats with the crew. He listens. He asks questions. He makes people feel valued. And in a business that often dehumanizes, Keanu humanizes. That humanity is what fans respond to. It's why he's become more than a movie star. He's become a symbol, a reminder that kindness still exists, that humility can survive fame, that grief doesn't have to harden you, and yet the pain is always there. In 2019, during a press tour for John Wick, Chapter 3, Keanu was asked a simple question. What do you think happens when we die? He paused. He looked down. He took a breath. Then he said, I know that the ones who love us will miss us. The room went silent. The internet exploded. That moment, unscripted, unpolished, captured everything about him. He didn't offer theology or philosophy. He offered truth, a truth born from loss. Because Keanu knows what it means to miss someone, to miss many someones, his father, his daughter, his partner, his best friend, his sister, who battled leukemia for years. He's lived with absence, he's learned to carry it, but he doesn't let it define him. Instead, he channels it into his work, into his art, into his presence. He's not trying to escape grief, he's trying to honor it, to live alongside it, to make something beautiful from it. That's why his performances feel different. They're not just skilled, they're lived. When he plays a man in mourning, he's not imagining, he's remembering. When he plays a character searching for meaning, he's not pretending, he's participating. And audiences feel that. They don't just watch Keanu, they connect with him. Because he's not selling a fantasy. He's sharing a reality. That reality includes solitude. Keanu has spent much of his life alone, not because he's antisocial, but because he's introspective. He enjoys quiet. He enjoys space. He's been seen reading in cafes, walking through bookstores, sitting on park benches, always alone, always thoughtful. But solitude isn't loneliness. It's reflection. It's healing. It's a man who's learned that peace doesn't come from noise, it comes from stillness. Still, he's not without love. His relationship with Alexandra Grant is a testament to that. They met through art. They bonded over philosophy. They built something slow, steady, and real. Alexandra is an accomplished artist, known for her intellect and grace. She's not a celebrity. She's not chasing fame. She's chasing meaning. And that's what drew Keanu to her. Their relationship is quiet, private, but powerful. When they appeared together at an art gala in 2019, holding hands, the world took notice. Not because of scandal, but because of sincerity. They weren't performing. They were simply together. And that togetherness matters. Because for Keanu, connection is sacred. He's lost too many people to take love for granted. He doesn't flaunt it. He protects it. He nurtures it. And in doing so, he teaches us something profound. That love doesn't need to be loud to be real. His fans understand this. That's why they adore him. Not just for his movies, but for his soul. They've created online communities dedicated to his kindness. They share stories of chance encounters, of subway rides, of quiet gestures. They call him the internet's boyfriend. But it's deeper than that. He's become a symbol of hope, of goodness, of grace. And in a world that often feels cruel, Keanu feels like a miracle. But he's not perfect. He's human. He's made mistakes. He's had regrets. He's battled depression. He's questioned his worth. He's faced rejection. He's faced ridicule. But through it all, he's remained true. True to his values. True to his art. True to his heart. And that truth is rare. In Hollywood, where image is everything, Keanu chooses authenticity. He doesn't chase trends. He doesn't manipulate narratives. He doesn't sell his pain. He simply lives. And in that living, he inspires. He inspires actors to be humble. He inspires fans to be kind. He inspires people in grief to keep going. Because if Keanu Reeves can survive what he's survived and still choose love, still choose generosity, still choose life, then maybe we can too. Maybe we can sit with our sadness. Maybe we can honor our losses. Maybe we can find beauty in brokenness. That's the legacy of Keanu Reeves. Not just the films, not just the fame, but the quiet courage of a man who walks through fire and never stops walking. Keanu Reeves doesn't need a monument. He doesn't need a statue or a star on the Walk of Fame. His legacy lives in the people he's touched. Crew members who received surprise bonuses, fans who were met with kindness, strangers who felt seen. His legacy lives in the quiet moments, the subway rides, the shared silences, the gentle nods. He's not trying to be remembered. He's trying to be present. And that presence is powerful. In a world obsessed with speed, Keanu moves slowly. In a culture addicted to noise, he listens. In an industry built on ego, he chooses humility. He's not just different, he's deliberate. Every choice he makes, every word he speaks, every role he takes is infused with intention. That intention has made him a role model, not just for actors, but for anyone navigating grief, fame, or identity. He's proof that you can be successful without being arrogant, that you can be broken and still be whole, that you can lose everything and still choose love. And people notice. In recent years, Keanu has become a kind of spiritual figure, not in a religious sense, but in a human one. He represents the possibility of grace, of healing, of transformation. He's the man who walks through fire and doesn't burn others. He's the man who carries sorrow without spreading it. He's the man who reminds us that kindness is strength, that strength is quiet. It's not explosive. It's not dramatic. It's steady. It's enduring. It's the kind of strength that shows up every day, even when no one's watching. And Keanu has been watched for decades, by cameras, by fans, by critics. But he's never performed for them. He's never chased their approval. He's simply lived. And in that living, he's taught us how to live. He's taught us that grief is not a weakness, that solitude is not loneliness, that silence is not emptiness. He's taught us that love is worth protecting, that kindness is worth practicing, that life is worth continuing, even when it hurts. And it has hurt. Keanu Reeves has endured more loss than most people can imagine. A father who vanished, a daughter who never took her first breath, a partner who never got to grow old, a sister who battled cancer, a best friend who died too young, a life filled with goodbyes. But he never stopped saying hello to new roles, to new friendships, to new ideas, to new love. He never stopped showing up. And that showing up is heroic. Not in the Hollywood sense, not in the cape and costume sense, but in the human sense, the everyday sense, the sense that says, I'm still here. I'm still trying. I'm still choosing kindness. That's the kind of hero the world needs. And that's the kind of hero Keanu Reeves is. He doesn't ask for praise. He doesn't seek attention. He doesn't demand recognition. But he deserves it. Not for the movies, not for the fame, but for the grace, for the courage, for the quiet revolution he's led, one act of kindness at a time. Because in the end, Keanu's story isn't just about tragedy. It's about transcendence. It's about a man who took his pain and turned it into art, who took his grief and turned it into empathy, who took his silence and turned it into wisdom. It's about a man who reminds us that being human is enough, that being kind is extraordinary, that being present is powerful, and that being broken doesn't mean being defeated. Keanu Reeves is not just a survivor. He's a teacher, a healer, a mirror. And when we look into that mirror, we don't just see him, we see ourselves, our losses, our hopes, our capacity for grace. And maybe, just maybe, we learn to carry our own grief a little more gently. Because if Keanu can do it, if he can walk through the darkest valleys and still choose light, then so can we. So here's to the man who never stopped walking, to the man who never stopped loving, to the man who never stopped believing in the quiet power of kindness. Keanu Reeves, a tragedy, a triumph, a testament, and above all, a reminder that the most beautiful souls are often the ones who've suffered most and still choose to shine.